guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Mont Blanc notebook and completing a pen test in the back, and also sharing with you my newest addition, this Mont Blanc Le Petit Prince fountain pen. So this is my beautiful deep blue pen. It's coming up a little bit black on camera, but it is a deep, rich blue. It has a yellow star right here on the clip, and it has the Mont Blanc snow cap right on top. This is actually the classic size. They also have a Le Grand size, which is a little bit thicker, but I prefer the thickness of the classic size. It is twist off, so you don't just pull it off, it is twist. And this one is the fountain pen version. You can also get this in the ballpoint or the roller ball version. It also has some engraving on the nib right there. You see the Petit Prince and you see the fox next to him, and that is on the nib. Now, you can get different size nibs for this type of pen. They are all also available in this special edition. This is a medium nib. Why? The nibs for this particular pen design and also for this special edition come in a variety of sizes. This one is the medium nib, but they have different ones that range from extra fine all the way to really bold. I think they're called BBBs, and they have flat nibs so that you can have more of a calligraphy or a flat nib writing style. This one has kind of that round nib. I am not a Mont Blanc expert, but I really do enjoy the writing experience with this guy. I also like how it caps. It has like a very satisfying cap, and it feels like it's on there nice and snug. So I'm gonna go ahead and test this guy out once I go over the Mont Blanc notebook. So some specs on this: it comes in a wide range of colors. This guy is the indigo color. It's a deep, rich blue. There are two different sizes that I saw online. There was a smaller size, which runs about $42. This is considered the medium size, which runs around $62 depending on the color. Most of them are in that $62 range. They come in lined, blank, and squared. Again, the varieties or the options differ depending on the color that you're looking for, but the black and the indigo seem to have the most variety, having a paper that is blank, lined, and squared. This guy is squared, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. The paper is 85 GSM. The cover is a leather cover, and it has 92 sheets or 192 pages. I'm trying to open it as delicately as possible. This is part of the reason why I don't have like super fancy things, because I just feel like I can't be trusted around them. Can I use like my knife on it? All right, I got the X-Acto knife out. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. Oh, there we go. Ah! Alright, so some of my first impressions is that it's a pretty substantial book, so I do feel like the paper quality, or at least I can feel the weight of the paper. The leather feels like stiffer than I prefer in my leather, but it seems like it would be pretty durable to throw in your backpack. It has this Mont Blanc emblem that sticks out of the book, so it's not flush with it, and I don't know how it's stuck on there, so I'm not sure if you would be risking that coming off by throwing it in your backpack or something like that. To start off with, it's really flexible to open. It has, the pages seem to be a very crisp white. You can see that it's almost more white than my table, which is a pretty stark white. It has Mont Blanc, Florence, and another city maybe that I can't pronounce there in the first page. And then it has a little page of Mont Blanc history. Then it has some calligraphy examples here on the left-hand corner. I am gonna break the binding. This is why I can't have nice things. Right on the other side, it does have ruled paper that seems like it's ruled for calligraphy. That is immediately followed by paper with this square grid. I'm gonna bring out my grid ruler to see how big these grids are. Without measuring it, it looks like it's probably the 5mm grids. I'm gonna bring out this ruler that I found, I believe, at Michael's, and the dots are 5mm away from each other, so they're kind of like the conventional grid. They're not perfect, but it looks like, the ruler is not perfect, but it does look like the grid is 5mm. The paper is not the softest paper, but it also feels like a nice weight to it. The paper feels more substantial than the Lloydstrom, but definitely not to the level of a Scribbles That Matter or Limon paper. And that's consistent with the 85 GSM that the paper is reported to be. On the very bottom, it says Mont Blanc. There are no numbers, and the grid does not go to the very top. The grid kind of goes in probably about an inch or so. The notebook continues like that. It looks like the spine of the book is this silver color, which is really pretty. The page marker is that kind of inexpensive nylon-y feel. And I am always concerned with these bookmarks that they'll fray, but this one has, it looks like it's glued or probably burned here at the edges so that there is less of a concern about fraying. These bookmarks are similar to the bookmarks in the Scribbles That Matter notebook, but much thicker. So I'm gonna pull that out. Yeah, I just looked at my Scribbles That Matter notebook, and it is kind of a similar feel to it, except much wider. So it has one bookmark. I don't know if the bookmarks are different colors for different color notebooks. At the end, there is this white cardstock, and then there is a global map. And there's also time zones here. So here I am in Honolulu, -10 of, I guess, the international date line right there. And that is it. That is actually glued to the back cover, which is also a little bit flexible, but not as flexible as the front cover. And then here in the back, there's some silver foiling that says Mont Blanc, made in Italy. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do with this fancy smancy notebook is do a pen test at the back. So I'm going to pull out some of my fine liners and also one of the Sharpies. So first I am going to see how it does against its own pen. Then I'm going to do a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen. I'm going to do that in 0.5. I'm also going to do the Pigma Micron in 0.5. I'm going to do a Le Pen pen, which is the pen that I found has had the most bleed through, at least in my notebooks. And then I'm also going to be doing an extra fine Sharpie. So we'll see how the paper holds up to these pens. All right, I'm going to go to the very last page here. Mess with the binding a little bit. So the book does not lay flat, even here in the middle, pushing down on it with a little bit of force. Oh, it does. So the book does lay flat, at least near the middle. And as you move back, it becomes a little bit harder to keep it open. All right, let's get started. All right, I can already tell that the fountain pen is gonna take a second to dry. I can still see it kind of glistening, so I'm gonna just let it dry for a second. I don't anticipate a lot of bleed through. Just as I was actually writing on the paper, it just felt like the ink was sitting on top of the paper. My guess is that this is gonna hold up pretty well in a pen test. Well, I was wrong. I can see a bunch of ghosting, especially when I look at the squares. I always black out my squares in my to-do list, so I don't check things off. I usually just black them out. So I would need a paper that can withstand that. And it looks like I have a good amount of ghosting, even with the fountain pen, less so with the other pens. And with the Sharpie, I don't have a lot of bleed through, although I do have some bleed through. I have a good amount of ghosting. I'm going to say that it held up similar to maybe a Scribbles That Matter, maybe a Limone. I'm gonna go ahead and pull those up to see how this compares to that. So I pulled out my Limone, and it looks like the Limone did much better. Even, oh, I don't think I used a Sharpie on this, so let me go ahead and use a Sharpie. Oh, it looks like it went right through. So I think it's probably going to be similar to the Limone. Let me see. So I would say it's probably comparable, because this is kind of, the cream does hide a little bit more of the ghosting than the white does. But just looking at it, it seems like they are pretty consistent with each other. The Limone seems like it's still better than the Mont Blanc notebook, but it's still pretty close. I'm gonna open up my Scribbles That Matter and see how it does compare to that. I didn't do a Sharpie one for this. Oh, the Sharpie definitely came through. So I didn't use the exact same pens, but some of the same pens, and you can see that the Mont Blanc notebook did hold up a little bit better than the Scribbles That Matter. So I'm not surprised, given the writing experience. When I was actually doing the pen test, it felt like the paper was holding up pretty well. It wasn't absorbing much of the ink, but I am a little surprised that it did better than the Scribbles That Matter, and it did almost as well as the Limone notebook. So overall, this notebook held up really, really well. I don't know if it's worth $62, but I do think it's a nice luxury gift item if you have a stationery lover in your life. So for me, it was a gift, and I'm very grateful for it. I don't know how I'm going to use this notebook. If you have any ideas on how I could use it, please leave them in the comments section down below. I do want to use it for something that would last a very long time, so maybe some long-term planning. And if you're like extra fancy and have the money, I could definitely see you using this as like your everyday carry or your bullet journal even, just because the paper quality is so good, and it does look like it will be pretty rugged enough to be able to throw into your backpack, minus this little emblem here, or your briefcase. So if you're looking for kind of a high-end luxury stationery gift, or maybe a gift for yourself, this guy is definitely worth checking out. They do have them in some pretty cool colors, like they have it in fuchsia and yellow and turquoise. So if you're interested in some of the more fun colors, they have them in that as well. But I do think that when you are looking for a more like eccentric color, they don't have them in the squared or potentially even in the blank. The salesperson that we spoke to at MontBlanc said that she is getting less stock of squared and blank notebooks, and she thinks that MontBlanc is moving more toward having only lined notebooks. So if the square or the blank is something that you're interested in, that is something to keep in mind as well. Well, that's about it for my review today. I was so happy to share this beautiful gift with you all, and until next time, I hope this video brought you some utility and joy.